Hey everyone, I'm Rather Incoherent, and this is the Dunwich Legacy. Today we're doing our Session 0 for the Return to Dunwich Legacy, which is going to be the next campaign I'm playing. First, let's talk about the problems that are presented to you by Dunwich Legacy. The first is that there are event cards throughout all the scenarios that make you discard cards on the top of your deck, and the capstone of that is Beyond the Veil, where once your deck is out of cards, you take 10 damage, which usually just reads you die. There are two ways around this. The first is to run something like Deny Existence and just not actually take the damage. And the second way around it, which is the far more common way, is to not run a deck that has a lot of draw in it. The encounter deck is not so harsh that you're just going to randomly die if you play a normal deck. It's only punishing you for running lots of draw, which is basically only punishing big hand seekers or seekers that just have a lot of draw in their deck in general. Every other class really is unaffected by this. The next problem that Dunwich Legacy gives you is across the whole campaign as well. It simply doesn't give you enough experience. By my count, which is probably slightly overestimating because I'm getting things wrong that are mutually exclusive, there's 33 experience if you ace the campaign. That's not a lot at all. It's substantially the least of any campaign. There's two solutions to this, three actually. The first solution is to cheat out your experience. Play somebody like a Mystic or Jenny Barnes who's going to make more experience with their own cards than the campaign's going to give them. The second is to play somebody who doesn't need experience at all, somebody like Rex Murphy or Mark Harrigan who is out of the gate busted, and yeah, they scale well with experience, but they don't need it. And the third possibility is to play somebody who only needs a little bit of experience to come fully online, someone like Ashcan Pete or Norman Withers who has a handful of key upgrades, and then they're ready to go forever. There's one more problem in the Dunwich Legacy, and that is that at some point during one of the scenarios, for the life of me, I can't remember which one, there is a mandatory book check to progress the act. Return 2 may have changed that, I don't know. But right now I'm going in under the assumption that if you can't pass a book check, you're going to fail to win that scenario. I have no recollection of what the penalty for failure is, just being surprised that I was hard locked to a book check. So, with all that in mind, let's talk about what I'm doing with this campaign, which you probably already know from the title. My solution to all three of these problems is to play a pair of Mystics. A pair of Mystics run Deny Existence to stop Beyond the Veil. A pair of Mystics generates more experience than the campaign itself, so they won't have to worry about that either. And I can run a Mystic that has high book and a variety of book pumps to pass that book check, and that's going to solve all the problems that Dunwich is presenting to it. The reason I'm running a pair of Mystics, though, isn't just because Mystics are good in this campaign. I'm running a pair of Mystics because I want to do monocolor runs for all the classes. I want to run 2 Mystics, I want to run 2 Seekers, I want to run 2 Guardians. I want to see how those feel. And I think generally the classes are varied enough that it won't feel janky at all. Guardian and Seeker are really the only ones that are going to have any difficulty. I think the other ones are just going to look like normal teams that happen to be the same colors. But all the same, I want to have monocolor runs for every Investigator class. And for most classes, I'm not immediately sure what campaign I want to run them in. But for Mono Mystic, it's very obviously best suited to Dunwich, so that's where I'm going to be taking them. Without any further ado, let's start talking about the characters and decks I'm going to be taking through the Dunwich Legacy. I mentioned that I was going to need to pass a book check to beat the campaign. This is where Marie Lambough comes in. She has 4 brain and 4 book, and the way I plan on playing her is by using her brain to use Mystic assets to deal damage, and using her book with Seeker assets to find clues via basic investigate actions. She's definitely leaning in my deck more towards Fighter than Clover, I feel, but all the same, she'll be doing both at quite a high level of effectiveness. Marie Lambough's ability lets her use Doom on her cards to give her an extra action on spells each turn, and the Doom on her cards is exclusively coming from Arcane Initiate and David Renfield. The reason I've chosen these allies isn't just because they're the best Doom cards, which they are, but because they're able to use Calling and Favors to put them back in my deck and search for my Seeker allies, which I need to do my job. It all just fits together very nicely. And over the course of the game, I'll upgrade into something like this. The only card that really changes out is I switch out Delve Too Deeps for Blood Eclipses eventually, which again help me kill my allies if I need to and are a way of helping with fighting. The deck isn't very complicated, but I'm pretty sure it's more than strong enough, and it's going to help me get past that mandatory book check that I need to do. And as Marie is a true flex character, the way I'm playing her, I need her to be paired with another flex character. That's going to be Jacqueline Fine. And now that we're at Jacqueline, I want to call attention to the fact that I'm running Delve Too Deep in both decks. The taboo means I only get 2 copies of Delve Too Deep. I just want to make sure I can consistently do it without sandbagging, because I don't want to waste my time waiting to draw Delve Too Deep. It's incredibly unfun. I'd rather have slightly worse decks. And there's also a chance that if only one person runs them, they randomly discard their delves and I don't get the full experience. But the real reason that I'm running Delve Too Deep when I normally use the Delve token house rule is I want a campaign on my channel that I can point to and say, look, if I actually run Delve Too Deep, I get 10 to 12 experience. I'm nerfing myself by not running Delve Too Deep. And that's what I'm going to be doing with this campaign with Mystics only. For Jacqueline Fine, though, her deck is much more traditionally Mystic in what it's doing. I've got a set of assets that will help me perform either role, and I'm just relying on them and events to get the job done. Looking at the deck, it stands out to me that I don't run Read the Signs and Spectral Razor. Those are both very good cards, but moving to the final deck, I don't feel like I need them or have room for them. I could potentially cut Promise of Power or Prescient for one of them, but the thing is, my economy is only so good in this deck. I'm running Emergency Ashes too. I'll run them. I'm actually only going to run Read the Signs. I would like to keep Prescient in the deck, and I don't feel like I should need Spectral Razor since I'm working with another fighter. But as you can see with the Jacqueline Fine deck, it really is just a bog standard Mystic. I'm using Recharge and Prescient because I'm Jacqueline Fine, and that's just the most cost-effective and easiest way in the game to get more charges on your assets. For a different Mystic, you'd probably end up doing something like True Magic shenanigans, but for Jacqueline, I can just probably get unlimited charges fairly quickly. I say fairly quickly, but between upgrading my spells and getting the experience for Recharge, it's not going to be that quick at all. But yeah, this is the team I'm planning on running with. Jacqueline Fine as your generic Mystic, and Marie Lambeau as a much more interesting but ultimately same role Mystic. They're both playing very flex characters, and I don't think I'm going to have any problems with the campaign. I think if we learned anything from Path to Carcosa, it's that breaking the experience curve breaks the game, and Mystics are going to do that here. I actually considered running them somewhere else because of this, and then I realized that, like, if this is the main strength of the class, let's show it off to the most outrageous extent possible. I really don't have anything else to say. It's a pretty brief session 0, because there's not a lot to talk about, I feel. Dunwich is, truth be told, not that hard of a campaign. It just has a little bit of jank you need to plan around, and I think I've planned around it more than well enough, and we're probably going to breeze through it. But overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, so we'll see when and where it all falls apart. That's it for now. I've been rather incoherent, and I'll see you again tomorrow when I start the Dunwich Legacy Mystics only. If you're liking the content, then leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps it grow. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one.